if you make a change, 2 to 5% of the people are going to be mad at you. But if you don't make a change, 2 to 5% of people are going to be mad at you anyway. So do the thing you think is going to be the right thing to do, and be okay with people being mad at you.
So that's Aaron Lee, the lead pastor at Cultivate Church, Wesleyan Church in Layado, Indiana. And we're going to have a great time as he tours us around his church to learn a whole bunch about the ways that they have utilized the space that they have, the money, time, and volunteers that they have to best reach the community around them.
Hi, my name is Aaron Lee. I'm the lead pastor at Cultivate Church in beautiful Layado, Indiana, and it's currently snowing right now, so it's not as beautiful as we usually like it. But this is our entryway. We recently rebranded from our name being Layado Wesleyan Church to being Cultivate Church. We felt like that answered some more questions about who we were rather than where we were. And so one of our logos is this. We recently made this sign, and we're just trying to keep everything updated.
One of the things you're going to hear Aaron say quite often is about their constant effort to continually upgrade the things going on in their church, whether it's technology or room space or room use or paint or carpet. They've made that change part of the vision of the church. And so keep an ear out for all the things that he talks about that are on the move to be upgraded or changed or refurbished around the building.
When you come in on Sunday, we actually have some music playing out of this speaker over here. We had visited a church in South Carolina, and that was one of the things that we saw that was really fun and kind of interesting. And so when you're coming up the walkways here in the courtyard, that music is just blasting out of Spotify. So it's just a really simple rig, an old iPod, and then this Bluetooth connection to the speaker, and we just crank that up. So it's a chargeable speaker. There's no cord that we have to use. Always upgrading because nothing ever works forever. So we're trying to keep things rolling that way. So as you come in, this TV is one that we added a few years ago just to try and have some announcement slides and also just kind of a general sense of, kind of who we are and what we're about. And so that'll have some title slides, that'll have announcements, different things, and then usually we'll have some various forms of, different print media or whatever if we need it here. With the pandemic, we haven't had a lot of that, but that's where kind of all that stuff is located. And then our different setups go in different ways because our building is really old and it's all kind of cobbled together from like 6 different renovations and remodels. So keep going this way, it gets newer and newer. Keep going this way, it gets older and older.
It's a 200-year-old building that Aaron and his team work in every single week. And when you're in a building that is that old, like he talked about, finding better ways to utilize space that was designed for whole other purposes is part of it. And utilizing the space you have is something we hope you get to see throughout these church tour videos to see how other churches have utilized the spaces they have available in their church.
So this is our kids ministry room, and in our kids ministry we have different applications that we do. We had Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings mostly, and so in here is where our kids meet up during service to have a lesson, a game, usually a snack, and a lot of it is also subscription based because we have to have teachers come in and out and be able to pick up things as we go. And so a lot of it is we're using from the TV, and that's just a pretty simple setup also. Everything's ordered either off of Amazon or from Sam's Club, Costco, or Walmart. And so we've got our speaker set up here, which is just a really simple Yamaha PA system. So it's got a mixer on the back, and we just ran RCA cables from the TV to there, and then there's a setup to connect a computer onto there. We use the Bible Project, it's the Gospel Project for our curriculum. Again, because that was really quickly, easily picked up by teachers. That's kind of our main focus. If you're teaching something, if you're leading something, it ought to be as user-friendly as possible. And our children's ministry doesn't have a lot of hours in the week, and so we wanted to maximize what our kids minister was doing during the week. So didn't want them to have to invent curriculum or use curriculum that has to be modified all the time. And so it's mostly video-based, and it's mostly kind of set up, kind of plug and play. So that's who we are. Our whole kids room is our original church, and so this was actually built in 1860, and we've had to repurpose it lots of different times in lots of different ways. About 15 years ago, we actually made the decision to make this our kids' room as opposed to our main worship room. And one of the reasons for that is this big old air conditioner over here. We had no air conditioning before 2015 in this room. And so Indiana summers, it gets real hot. And so I like all the technology stuff. That's my favorite tech upgrade in this whole building is that air conditioner, because it actually does this whole room at a pretty effective rate. So
some churches really get hung up on having volunteers spend a lot of time doing things that might not be as useful with the time that they have. Like Aaron talked about with their team for the children's ministry, what they found was using pre-made curriculum that they can modify slightly for their groups gave their people more time to minister into the kids that are at the church. So spending more time in hands-on ministry and less time trying to figure out all these different avenues and different things that involved in curriculum writing. So don't be afraid to spend time doing it in that way. It's not bad. Just find the best ways to utilize the time, space, and energy that you have with your volunteers as well.
So throughout the building, we've got these trusses for our setup. And so we got them from two locations. One was an old Staples in Marion that we found in the dumpster. And the other was Rogers Supermarket. That was, if you've ever been in an old Scott's or an old Rogers or an old Kroger, they used to have all of that stuff over the produce area, and they would have lights hanging off of there.
The basement here at Cultivate provided a lot of opportunity for you to hear what it was that Aaron talked about when he talks about conscious decisions to upgrade. When you've been around 100 plus years, you have to figure out how to update every 10 years, making change part of the value. And you'll see here one of those soon to be upgraded spaces for this youth area in the basement here at Cultivate.
So this is our basement, and basement is not original to the building. It actually was dug out in the 40s during the Depression, 30s and 40s. The youth of our church had basically nothing to do. And so they said, let's build a basement underneath our church because we have nothing to do. So that's why the ceilings are a little low. It was added afterwards. And I think folks were a little shorter back in the day. But this is and has been where our kids ministry does most of their stuff. And so this is kind of our meeting room. Originally, this was a room in the 60s, 40s, 50s, 60s that just had wood paneling, tables in it, and we just made a conscious decision to try and make sure that we were upgrading as often as possible. So I don't think any of these street signs were stolen. They might be. I don't know for sure. I don't, baptize all of that stuff, but we've got kind of our road room in here. And so this actually has some slides that come down off of the landing here. And underneath is actually a secret tunnel that goes underneath the stairs also. Just trying to add a few features where we could. Try and make this as fun as possible and as interesting as possible for as many people as possible. So this is our youth room. It used to be 4 rooms down here because everything had to be a Sunday school room. And so there was a wall here and a wall here and here. And so it was 1, 2, 3, 4 different rooms. So we took down all the paneling and tried to blow out the walls as much as possible so that our youth had a space to meet inside the church. They used to meet over in our parsonage in the basement, and they used to meet for a long time in a big old school building that we had purchased a long time ago also. So all that to say, when you're a church that's been in existence and been in the same location for 130, 140 years, you have to figure out how things are going to work basically every 10 years. And so we are always in flux, everything, and it looks always in flux because nothing is put away right now because of pandemic stuff, but everything's moving, everything's constantly changing. And so we've tried to embody that as one of our values too, and just say, change is going to be a constant. It always has been, it always will be. We're just going to embrace it instead of being afraid of it. So our youth room is woefully backward on technology as far as TVs go at this point. We haven't upgraded those or anything recently. That's kind of next on our list. And so we have to find a way to get rid of our old TVs and figure out what stays and what goes. It's always trying to consistently make things as homey as possible for the group that you're trying to reach. So we know that there's a lot of old ladies who are not going to go down the stairs at our church. And so this has been seeded over to youth and kids. And we say, all right, it's youth and kids home. What do youth and kids need? What are the things that matter to them? What are the things that are going to make them feel as at home as possible? And so that's kind of what we've strived for in here. So it's due for an upgrade at this point because it's been probably about 10 years since we've really messed with this room at all, and it's kind of become a catch-all for a lot of different activities and things. So we got to make that our next opportunity to change some things up. So yeah, so this room is our kind of arena room. And again, all of these were Sunday school rooms. So this used to be 3 rooms. You had those old school accordion dividers in here, trying to get every kid to have their own specific room. And so we found that we needed a space inside to be able to play. And so this is what we're doing with this. So we turned this over to our youth group and said, all right, let's make this like you're inside a video game. And so you can kind of see we've taken hints and tips from all kinds of different video games and different characters and tried to include them. So, and then we put in some black lights just trying to make it as laser taggy and fun as possible.
Embracing change, like Aaron says, can be one of those scary things because there is a bit of that set aside to say, hey, we know we need to do this, and part of our budget is going to have to reflect that. And that's a church decision that you'll have to come to see what that might look like. And it can be difficult, but one of the things is if you find spots that need upgraded, one big upgrade, once every several hundred years can become pretty expensive, whereas doing those little things throughout the course of the year over the years can keep you up to date, looking nice, and not chew into huge chunks of budget every year. So it can be scary, but making change or embracing that, like Aaron talked about, can be beneficial to a lot of things.
So this is our prayer wall. We wanted to kind of stick with analog on this. We've got a lot of online stuff, including a text line and Facebook groups and that kind of stuff, which are hard to keep up with. This is, for a lot of our folks that are coming through the doors, the place where they can check in and do prayer requests on one side and prayer answers on the other side. And so we just got these from IKEA. They've got little clips that you can buy there too. Just attach them to the wall just to try and have something in this corner where we could connect with folks. So these are prayer requests that our board and our leadership pray for basically every time we have a meeting, or try to every time we have a meeting. I bring those up if we have new ones. And then as they get answered, they get stuck on the other side. So we're trying to have like kind of a Western wall, kind of a place where you can stick prayers. And everything wasn't really working that way. And so we came across these at IKEA, and this was what we stuck with. So this is our nursery space. So when you come through the toddler room door here, they're connected that way. And what we wanted to do again in here is talk to nursing moms and say, hey, what are things that you need? So what they needed was to be able to see and hear the service. So we've got a TV up in the corner. But also, there are times where other people other than nursing moms are going to come in here. And so what they often want the most is privacy as they're trying to feed their kids. And so we wanted to figure out a way to do that. So these are just really simple shower curtain rods that are curved. We put 2 essentially bookcases here, anchored them to the wall, and then anchored the shower rods to them, and then put these shower curtains up, and then moms can come in here and nurse. But also this is closed off mostly to just nursing moms, and so this whole room is for them. But if they want a little more privacy, that's where that's at. So trying to make this, again, friendly as possible to the people who are going to use it the most. So this is our cheat screen, our confidence monitor up here. And so there's our old projectors projecting onto that during service. And it's actually just made of some painter's tarps that you get, again, at Walmart. And it's just some of that real thin millimeter visqueen stuff. And so we've got just some basic black tape around a PVC frame that's wrapped with that, and then it's translucent so the light shines in from the back and then they can see it on the stage. So that's our answer for a cheat screen without running any extra lines down to the stage.
The painter's tarp back screen blew me away when I saw it. I don't know if you've ever priced out rear projection screens for a worship space, but they can range into a huge amounts of dollars. And something as simple as that is really what we hope to inspire you to see that's possible. Just like the metal rafters that were taken out of a dumpster from an old grocery store to create the screen hanging, or putting together painter's tarp to have rear projection. These are things that are possible to do, look really great, and won't cut into the budget. So we'll learn more about those as we see more churches and we release more of our ministry toolboxes.
Yeah, so this is our stage. Original to the building. It was one of the dreams that they had when they built this section of the building, was they wanted to do plays and different things. There's actually a baptismal behind this curtain. We don't use it anymore just because it's hard to access, and we actually use a trough that we store in a different part of the building and bring in for baptisms. And so we are always upgrading up here too. So we've got electrical drops. There's spots on all of the walls. There's actually a mini wall behind this that our cords run into, and so that runs to a snake that goes underneath and up to our soundboard and room upstairs. These lights are all again attached to and connected to our dimmer packs upstairs, and then we consistently try and have about a $2,000 to $3,000 budget for worship and drama every year. So it's not a huge budget. I know for a lot of churches that can sound really big, but for us, we really felt like if we're going to be upgrading mics and cables and lighting, we need to have at least about that for a church our size to be able to try and stay as relevant as possible. So, and it helps to know people at Sweetwater and different things, as Phil will tell you. And so there's some folks who have helped us gather some things we probably couldn't have got otherwise. Our Alesis Drum Kit that we wanted to run, we were getting, this room is just a box. And so when we had just our regular acoustic drums, it was bouncing everywhere, going crazy. This gives us a little more control, a little more ability to make the sound what we want it to be. And then we had been running just 2 subs and 2 mains, and then added another sub from an old system that we had in our kids ministry, because this summer we were outside every week trying to get people as comfortable as possible being at church without being inside the building. So that sub we would take in and out. We would actually have a whole other setup. We're going to try and do some of that this summer. It may look a little different than it did before, but the other thing is we try to do as many wireless mics as possible, just so we'd have a little more flow and be able to move things during service, and trying to move towards having wireless packs for our guitarists and all of that. So this is our sound room, and it's got a lot of different things going on. This is our projection computer right now. So it runs ProPresenter 6. We actually have a new computer that we're going to be installing soon that runs Pro 7. And this also runs music before and after service as well from Spotify. This is our rear projection projector that we had talked about for our confidence monitor. And then a couple of different lighting boards here. And our soundboard runs FireWire into our old computer, and then also connects to this Behringer amp to help us kind of smooth it out a little bit. So we've got stage lights, and then you can kind of see also the house lights that we talked about before. And then on stage, we've got a few different lighting setups. Our side lights, got some rear lights, and then our Christmas backing lights there. This is kind of just a little side note. We bought some crowd blinders from a band that was disbanding because they were going to be pastors in different places. So behind those 2 screens on stage, we've actually got these crowd blinders that you can mess with, and it's got some chases built in and stuff. We don't pull that out often during worship, but sometimes we do. So those are just ADJ puck lights, basically. The 2 in the truss are the same, and then the 4 that are up on the side walls are the same. And then if you go on the light bar, there's 2 ADJ Cobb cannons. We've got one more that we need to install, and that lights up the stage. So I'll pull down the white lights, and you can see with just the LEDs how it looks. That's that there. This is our PreSonus Studiolive. We're actually looking at upgrading our board just because some of the preamps are a little funky on some of this stuff. It's getting, I think this is almost 8 years old for us now too. And so the software is getting a little old, all of that stuff. So we'll be looking at changing that up. Some of the most exciting things that we do as far as connecting, people online is through our Sling Studio hub right here. And so we've got a 3-camera setup downstairs, but also you can add phones to it. You can add anything that's got wireless connectivity to it that's got a camera. You can make that a camera for your live stream setup too. So
as you can see, that worship space at Cultivate is utilized in so many different ways, from food pantries to the worship time to basketball gymnasiums to a little kitchen breakout if they have a meal, that versatile space. And what's great is that church has really embraced that versatility and take the time after worship to set up and tear down for what's going to be needed for that week, whether it's the food pantry or any other activity that's going on. Like you said, change is part of the space and part of the vision, and the church has rallied around that. And it just takes that commitment and vision to get everybody to buy in and move forward. And Cultivate provides such a great example for what it looks like when a church gets behind this idea of ever changing and modifying.
So my name's Aaron Lee, and this has been a guide of our church here at Cultivate Church, where we like to say, God loves you. There's nothing you can do to change that reality. But we're excited about the ways that God is imagining into us the new ways that we're going to be doing and living in and rolling with church in the next few years. So hope this helps, and hope that you find some guidance in the next few years for your church and your ministry too.
I encourage you to check out Aaron and the team there at Cultivate. You can find their website. We'll link it at the bottom of this video. Give them a like on Facebook or follow them on YouTube to help them reach more and more people in that area. And it has been an absolute pleasure to tour with them, and we'll see you all later.